I heard my neighbor's voice shaking through the phone. Bradley, why are there moving trucks pulling boxes out of your store right now? I was sitting in a loan office, pen touching paper on the biggest expansion of my life, when that sentence emptied the room around me. I didn't yell, I didn't call out. I just stood up, thanked the loan officer, and walked out calmly, already knowing whoever did this had no idea what 30 years of chasing fraud had taught me. My name is Bradley Halden. I'm 58. Before I took over my grandfather's hardware store 6 years ago, I spent 3 decades investigating insurance fraud for a living. My wife Amanda passed 2 years back, and that store became the only thing holding my days together. That Tuesday in March, I thought the worst news I'd get was a loan rejection. I was wrong. By the time I reached the store, the trucks were gone. Only tire tracks remained in the gravel. My neighbor Diane had photos on her phone, uniformed movers, a company called Heartland Premier Moving, boxes, my filing cabinets, my office computer. Police came, dusted for prints, found nothing forced. Then the officer frowned at her tablet. Your alarm was disabled yesterday at 3:47 p.m. using the master code. Reopened this morning at 9:22, same code. Both authorized. Authorized. Only one other person had that code, my younger sister, Renee. I'd given it to her last year when I was hospitalized, because she was family, and family doesn't rob family. Or so I believed until I opened my filing cabinet that night and found the original incorporation papers gone, the property deed gone, and in their place a partnership agreement I'd never signed, dated 3 months earlier, notarized by a woman I'd never met, transferring 60% ownership of my grandfather's store to Renee Halden Cortez. That was the moment the investigator in me woke back up. I didn't confront anyone. I went home and followed the money, the way I'd done for 30 years. Business accounts showed checks to vendors that didn't exist. Wabash Supply, Delta Equipment, Union Prairie Services. Thousands of dollars routed through an email address using my name, but registered under Renee's control. Insurance records showed 3 theft claims filed in the past 2 months, each just under the $10,000 threshold that would trigger real scrutiny, payouts landing in an account at a bank I'd never used. I called Marcus Feld, a retired federal financial crimes investigator I'd worked beside years earlier on a pension fraud case. He didn't flinch at what I told him. Elder financial abuse by family is more common than people think, he said. Most victims never report it, because it's easier to believe it's a misunderstanding. You're doing the right thing by looking closer. His plan was simple and exact. Subpoena the notary, trace the shell accounts, pull the bank's signature setup footage. 2 weeks, he said, but you cannot confront her before then, or she'll have time to bury it. Those 2 weeks were the hardest of my life. Renee called to check on my health. She stopped by to help with inventory, spending an hour alone near the same cabinet she'd emptied. I smiled and played the grateful older brother the whole time, swallowing something bitter every single day. The evidence built itself into a wall. The notary cracked within hours and admitted Renee had paid her to look the other way while she signed my name herself. The shell companies traced back to a law firm her husband Derek used for his failing construction business. The insurance payouts had gone straight to paying off his gambling debts and a down payment on a car titled in Renee's name. And then Marcus's contact in digital forensics pulled her texts under court order. One message read, "He's at his appointment, notary's here, signing now." Derek's reply, "Perfect. How much longer to sell the whole place? Give me 6 months to clean out the accounts, then we list it." They weren't just draining the store. They were planning to sell my grandfather's legacy out from under me. The last message, sent 2 weeks before, was worse. "He's getting suspicious about the claims. Can we get him declared incompetent? His health's getting worse anyway." They wanted to erase me legally, not just financially. Marcus called on a Friday. "We're ready, but I want to give them one more chance to hang themselves." The plan was dinner, a family talk about expanding Renee's role in the business. I called her that night, voice tired and warm. I've been thinking about what you said. Come by Sunday, you and Derek. I'll make Amanda's meatloaf." Sunday came bright and ordinary. I set a table beside the same filing cabinet they'd robbed weeks earlier. Renee arrived in a new outfit that cost more than most of my customers made in a week. Derek shook my hand like he was closing a deal. Through dinner, they built their pitch slowly. How proud they were of the family legacy. How hard it must be running things alone with my health the way it was. How maybe it was time to think about selling and letting me finally rest. I let them finish. Then I set a folder on the table. Renee went pale. Derek knocked his water glass over and didn't move to clean it. "This," I said, keeping my voice level, has copies of the partnership agreement you forged, the bank records on the $65,000 you moved through fake vendors and false claims, and the messages where you two discussed having me declared incompetent so you could sell my grandfather's store. I looked at Derek. There are agents outside. This is federal now. Marcus Feld sends his regards. Renee started crying. I don't know if it was fear or shame. We were desperate, she said. Derek's business failed. I was going to pay it back. I looked at the sister I'd walked down the aisle at her wedding, the woman I'd held her son for the day he was born. You weren't protecting the family, I told her quietly. You were stealing from it. There's a difference. Agents took them both that evening. In the following weeks, the full scope came out. This wasn't Derek's first scheme. He'd run similar frauds in 2 other states, using Renee's family ties as the way in. Renee pled guilty rather than face a trial that would finish off what was left of the family name in town. She got 4 years. Derek got 5. The forged papers were voided, the fraudulent loans erased, and we recovered a fraction of what they'd taken through asset forfeiture. Her son lives with his father now. Someday he'll learn the truth on his own. I'm not the one who's going to hand it to him. I still run the store, with a manager helping since my health took a hit from the stress of it all. Diane still keeps an eye on the place from her window across the street, and somewhere in all this we became real friends. Last month I spoke at a small business conference about family financial fraud, because it turns out the instincts my grandfather's store taught me, notice what's changed, understand what someone actually wants, protect what matters, are exactly what other owners need when someone they trust turns out not to deserve it. I don't feel triumphant when I think about Renee now. It's quieter than that, more like a scar that healed but never lets you forget it was there. What I learned is that loving someone completely and trusting them completely aren't the same thing, and sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to let someone's worst choices destroy what you've spent a lifetime building, even when that someone shares your blood. If you found out someone in your own family had done this to you, would you have confronted them the moment you knew, or would you have waited, like I did, until the proof was strong enough that no one could look away from it?